how's it going? No, that didn't work. I was going for like a casual feeling. I'm sick of doing these big "oh hello" kind of introductions, but I don't know if I could pull that one off either. One day we'll find something that works, and we'll stick to it like glue. But for the meantime, hello, I am Lawrence. You're listening to Unfinished Film Thoughts. You're listening to it like it's a radio show. You get it. It's a podcast. I talk about films, I word vomit a lot, and I just spew out some thoughts so that I can get them out of my head. Although this one is a little bit different in a break from format, because normally I watch a movie and I get straight on the mic and go like, here's my thoughts, and then I like don't have to keep banging those ideas around in my head. I've verbalized them, I've expressed, I've put them out there into the world. This is a movie I watched like 2 weeks ago. And I've been meaning to talk about it, but then my son was like, I'm going to be relentlessly unwell. And then I was unwell, and then my wife was unwell, and then just everything has gone wrong. I fell behind on work because on account of everyone being very unwell. But we're back. We're all in fighting strength. I've had no sleep, but here I am to talk about this film, Lost in Translation, a classic that I had never seen, and I went in with no expectations, but I was really curious to see what all the fuss was about, right? I'm doing this little movie challenge. I'm keeping it to myself. I'm not, well, I guess I'm not now because I just fucking said it on a podcast. Oh, well, whatever. My challenge this week was to watch a highly regarded movie that I've never seen before, and I was like, I have seen this poster so many times. You know, the one with Bill, it's probably the artwork for this. The one with Bill Murray in his little slippers, and he's like, oh, I'm on a bed, which is, you know, the default pose I hit when I get out of the shower and I'm drying in my towel. You got to sit on the end of the bed in your towel, otherwise you're not really drying after a shower, are you? But yeah, I'd seen that poster around a whole bunch of times, and I was like, oh, I'll get to that eventually. And you know when you say that, you're like, I'll get to that. Nathan tells me, hello, Nathan, if you're listening, I'm talking to you directly now. You tell me this all the time, where you're like, you're going to say you get to it, but you won't get to it, because if you were going to get to it, you'd just get to it. This is one of those that I fully agree with you. I was never going to get to this unless I forced myself to sit down and watch it. And I don't know why. There's nothing about this that didn't interest me. I didn't even know much about it. I just thought it looked cool. And I was like, I'll get to that. Anyway, I got to it. I've said got to it or get to it too many times, I feel. The word sounds weird in my mouth now. Anyway, summary time. Bill Murray, whose character's name is Bob, and I'll try not to let that confuse me throughout this movie, he is a fading movie star in his 50s who's quietly unhappy in his marriage. He travels all the way to Japan to shoot a whiskey advert for like $2 million? Must be nice. Where he has a chance encounter which brings him to meet Charlotte, played by Scarlett Johansson. Charlotte Johansson, a recent college graduate in her early 20s who's accompanying her photographer husband on a work trip, and her photographer husband is the guy from Avatar, the sniveling little suit boy in Avatar. Giovanni something? I can't remember. Left alone most of the time, she feels directionless and unsure about her future. Both feel isolated, and once they meet up in a hotel bar, they form a beautiful bond with one another, dancing constantly between this space of romance and friendship. As they navigate parties, hospitals, karaoke bars, both acutely aware that their time together has a fast approaching expiration date. I'll tell you something that I really, really like about this, right? As usual, we're going to do some pros, we're going to do some cons. Something that I really, really like about this are the performances. They're so subtle, they're so intimate. Bill Murray especially, he is delivering something very nuanced, something very restrained. When you think of Bill Murray, you think of a kind of a wisecracking, snarky, witty, kind of quick to the mark, layabout guy, like he kind of is in Ghostbusters. But in this, he's like melancholic, he's deeply human, he's still very charming, like he's got his wisecracks and he's doing the Bill Murray thing where he's cracking his jokes and stuff, but they just come from a place of sadness. Like his misery with life kind of is just permeating all throughout this movie, and he does a really good job not bogging it down. His character walks a constant tightrope between like miserable, depressed guy, but also the funniest one in the room at all times. Scarlett Johansson, or Charlotte Johansson as you might say, she's bringing this quiet vulnerability and a quiet depth, right? You feel the difference in age when you compare her and Bill Murray, right? Obviously Bill Murray's older, but when you compare the characters' ages, you feel them in a way that their life experience reflects their approach to the way that they think and the way they interact. There's a tenderness here. I think for much of her career she got put in the box of like gorgeous babe. And then she was kind of wrapped up with Marvel, but she puts out phenomenally interesting work. Her work in Marriage Story, her work in Her, Under the Skin, a little classic there. That's weird, man. She's a great actor. She's really, really good at bringing a humanity to a performance, I think. You get the sense with every part that she plays that she's lived that entire life of that character. Like, there's no part of me that goes, despite being such a well-known name, there's no part of me that goes, that's Scarlett Johansson, whenever she plays a role, you know? Anyway, speaking of like vulnerability and stuff, there's a really lovely scene where they're just lying on a bed together, kind of shooting the shit, and they chat about how life is easier if you know what you want, and how life gets harder after having kids. Amen to that. But it's all worth it and stuff. Like, it's a very, very interesting conversation. I really like that their chemistry feels natural and unforced, and these people are solely embodying their characters in a way that feels so realistic and so lived in. And if you're like, oh yeah, that's obvious, they're actors, right? What are you even saying? I draw your attention to when you see The Rock in something and you're like, that's The Rock. That's The Rock in this beige shirt that he's wearing for this movie. Oh, look, it's Ryan Reynolds. Oh, look, it's Jason Statham. Not once do they disappear into characters. Ryan Reynolds only disappears into Deadpool because the man is Deadpool. He's forgotten how to be Ryan Reynolds. Right, for anyone that knows me, that's my crusade on Ryan Reynolds over. I'll bring it up another time, I'm sure, but for today, Ryan Reynolds, I'm putting my hatred for you back in a box. Tokyo is a gorgeous setting for this also, right? It's portrayed as like dazzling, but also isolating in a way. There's massive crowded cities, but no one speaks the language as our central characters. So you can kind of see how both of them wind up feeling lonely and have found themselves exploring introspection, because if they can't speak to anyone, then the only thing that they can kind of really do is sit alone in their own thoughts. The film uses this lovely, lovely soft lighting. There's neon like cityscapes. There's lingering shots to immerse viewers in this mood. It's a very good vibes movie, right? There's not a lot of plot that happens here. And if you know anything about me, you know I'm a fucking sucker for when there's no plot, when a movie just vibes out. After Sun, Perfect Days, All of Us Strangers, although that has a little bit more of a plot to it, but that's definitely a vibes movie as well. I like these kind of lingering films, right? I'm aware that makes me sound like a fucking dork, but still, this is a good vibes movie. Before Sunrise, that's another vibes movie, just chatting, walking around chatting. I tell you what it does. It captures this feeling of being emotionally, adrift. Adrift is a good word for it. There's a sense of aimlessness. That's probably a better word for it. There's a sense of aimlessness to this entire thing, despite the film kind of constantly growing a bond between two characters. It doesn't have much of a plot, but that doesn't mean it's not achieving anything at the same time. This is a film where not much happens, but by the end of the movie, you still feel like you've gone on such a journey to the point where their final kiss moment and the whisper in the ear, which people are still debating about to this day, it has so much emotional meaning because the characters mean so much to you at that point. I think that if you prefer a movie with like strong plot momentum, you may find it a little bit boring or uneventful, and that's fine. You know, these meandering movies aren't for everyone, but I love them. I think they're really, really cool. I think music is also really, really enhancing the introspective tones, right? There's a sense of detachment here that the music kind of brings in. You get a sense that when the characters can't really talk to each other, that's when the score takes over a little bit, when the characters have nothing to say to one another because it would betray their life scenario at that point. They don't necessarily want to admit to each other that both of them are pining over one another. The music takes over and kind of does that heavy lifting and takes the emotional burden off the characters and still conveys those ideas to the audience through that, if that makes sense. Great. Really, really good. I'll tell you what is also really, really good in this, a bit of emotional realism, right? That's all my note says, emotional realism. I'm gonna have to just go through this, right? I think that this movie is about loneliness in a marriage. Marriages are obviously partnerships, but when someone leaves you alone in them, there's a great movie, I can't remember what it is. There's a line in some movie somewhere, or maybe a TV show, that someone was left alone in a marriage. And that was like such an interesting concept and idea to me. Not in the sense that I'm going to go and do it to my wife, but I just find that that's such like an interesting thing when someone kind of abandons themselves. It's not just a betrayal to yourself at that point. It's also a betrayal to your partner because you're forcing them to be life partners with someone that they didn't marry. You've betrayed yourself to the degree where you no longer are recognizable as the person you used to be, but that person stuck with you. It's a very, very interesting concept. I don't necessarily think that necessarily applies. I'm kind of just spewing out word vomit, but there is definitely a loneliness in the marriage where Bill Murray feels dissatisfaction, right? He's having a bit of an identity crisis. He's engaging in a fleeting connection with someone, I guess, to recapture that kind of dwindling sense of freedom that he feels is behind him. film. He's aging. That doesn't sit right with him. His probable best career days are behind him. He's doing whiskey adverts where everyone is like proper scooping him out, being like, Bill Murray's the best guy that ever lived. But well, I can't believe we've got this actor doing our whiskey commercial. And he's like, how the fuck am I shooting whiskey commercials, man? I thought I was an actor. I think their relationship as well is nice and intimate without ever becoming too overtly romantic or sexualized. There's a terrifying moment in this where Bill Murray is taking Scarlett Johansson home. She's obviously drunk. He's obviously drunk because he goes home and after that and calls his wife, and he's obviously fucking wasted. He's more sober than she is because he's carrying her home. But anyway, there was a terrifying moment where I was like, don't sleep with one another. Don't do it. Don't do it. Leave space for interpretation. And they do, which is good. I think that you need that space for interpretation in a film like this, because otherwise you can start pointing fingers. Scarlett Johansson in this isn't portrayed as a cheating woman. Bill Murray isn't played as this gross creep that kind of finally escaped his wife to pursue a younger, sexier woman or whatever. Like, the film doesn't have that leery nature to it, which is so hard to achieve for a movie where a middle-aged man, is kind of pining after a young woman, a teenage woman. So it's tough. It's a very, very tough thing, but I like the fact that the film doesn't play into those stereotypes. The film never punishes either of the characters for being human and having thoughts. It's also a clever technique in terms of your script to just let us into who they are. It would be so easy to dislike these characters, but when you understand them on a more fundamental kind of human level, you're let into them and who they are. Bill Murray graduates from being a creep to someone that's looking to recapture that freedom and that youth. Scarlett Johansson goes from being this woman that's keen to escape her kind of monotonous life with her husband because she's looking for someone mature. She's looking for someone that will take her seriously and listen to her thoughts and desires rather than just, barely understand her and just kind of see her as someone that he can court around the world while he goes off and does his job and she just waits for him. It's very, very emotionally honest, the film, I think. Some stuff that I wasn't as crazy on in the film, I think there's some cultural representation. The film is presenting Japan through an outsider lens, through like a Western tourist kind of lens, right? There are certain scenes that just lean way too far into stereotypes to feel totally comfortable with. There's one scene where Bill Murray offers a chef like a bit of bruised toe as something he could cook up and serve. And he's like laughing like this is really, really funny as opposed to just really offensive and rude. There's also instances of characters, Japanese characters being used solely for comedic contrast, right? There's like a bumblingness to local folks that feel a little outdated. I will say that it never feels overtly mean or prejudiced. It definitely does come across more as the character's own ignorance to culture, as well as some outdated jokes. Like, you wouldn't watch In Bruges and look at Colin Farrell in that and be like, why is that guy being racist? Like, look at him, because he's a racist. You can't say the film is racist for doing it, and that kind of applies here. But I do think there are some outdated jokes, and that's, that's a thing about, the sign of the times. It was made in this era where jokes like that were just kind of a pound a penny a little bit, but at the same time, not the greatest. I'm glad we've left some of that stuff behind. I will say that the film has a bias to its central characters as well. Certain characters' inner lives are implied rather than clearly expressed. You see Avatar guy, I looked it up, his name's Giovanni Ribisi, right? You see him being a bit of a loser as Scarlett Johansson's husband, and he's in the film, and he's a little bit dismissive of her and stuff. That's kind of all you need from him. But Bob's wife is relegated entirely to phone calls, and she sounds like a lovely, touching presence in the film. I found it a little bit biased and a little bit jarring, especially at first, but I obviously know that this is the film's way of putting you in the character's headspace. Bill Murray's character has really, really come out here to get some space from his wife, so it would feel very contradictory to that if she were in the movie a lot and she kind of, we kept cutting back to her and seeing how she's getting on at home, looking after the kids. So, I understand that, and the film's not about her. She's not the central character. She's a supporting character. But for Bill Murray's motivations to be solely kind of founded on he wants some time away from his wife, it would have been nice to just find out who she was a little bit more as a person, maybe tell some more stories about her, maybe let us get to know her through him, see how he sees her so that the contrast on the phone calls are a bit more jarring and you go, hang on, this woman sounds nice. She doesn't at all sound like this nagging wife that you've been describing. So I don't know, that could have been a little bit better handled, I think. I also think that some people are going to find Bob and Charlotte's connection quite frustratingly undefined, especially with the choices, like the lack of clarity on what Bob whispers in her ear. I think that's nice. I think it's it's something especially for the characters themselves that we're not privy to. Doctor Who does the same thing in Series 9. I think it's Hellbent, where a couple of characters have a little whisper to one another and the camera pans away and does something else because you're not meant to know. It's not for us. But I also think in this instance, it's a little lesser handled than that, I think. I enjoy that the characters have their moment of whispering, right? I enjoy that we don't find out what that was. But I do think the kiss in the final scene was a little bit too much, having your cake and eating it too, especially since earlier on in the film, they have a moment in the elevator where he kisses her on the cheek, and the way that they both kind of turn their mouths and faces to the side, it's like it's been directed that they should kiss as close to kissing on the mouth as possible without actually kissing on the mouth. It is the most emotionally charged cheek kiss in the history of cinema, and then they kind of undercut it a little bit by just having a real kiss at the end. I don't know, that felt a little bit like, you know, you walked me to the fountain and then you drowned me in it, kind of thing. I will say that any cons I have with this movie are entirely minimal, right? This film resonated with me quite deeply. I think that it's a film that's quality greatly depends on how much it can or cannot emotionally strike a chord with you. But I also think it's dependent on what stage of your life you watch this in, right? If I'd have watched this as a teenager, I would have been like, what the fuck? That was the most boring piece of shit ever. But watching it now, you know, I'm not almost 30. I've just turned 29. All right? I'm not almost 30. I understand technically I am, but I'm just 29. I'm rightfully 29. I'm in my early 29s, right? That's what I'm going to say. If I don't like watching this now, married with a kid, I'm not old and I'm not having a midlife crisis. I don't understand that element to it. But there have definitely been aspects of my life where I've felt like a dissatisfaction with my job, or I felt like, you know, like I'm holding the baby and he's crying and it's 3 a.m. and I haven't slept and I'm like, this is harder than I thought this was going to be. So I don't know. I think it depends on like the life experiences that you've had if you watch this. I think there are definitely going to be people that will sway more to Bill Murray's character in this. There are definitely people that will sway more to Scarlett Johansson's character, the people that feel the dissatisfaction with life and kind of wanting to grow up before your time has come. Like, I don't know. I like this a lot. I thought this was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to put this on again. It's a good vibes film, man. It's a good I watched it 2 weeks ago. I could watch this again today. Like, it's a really, really chill movie. And I had a really good time. And it, like I said, I'm doing that challenge, and it was a good little one to cross off the list. I don't know what's next. I think I have to watch a famous director's smallest film or lowest budget film or something like that. I don't know. I'll figure that out. That's not for you. You don't need to worry about that. That's for me. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this. If you have enjoyed it, I would say that I'm like posting on social media and stuff, and you can follow me at Unfinished Film Thoughts. But to be honest, you don't have to. I'm not like, I keep trying to be like, oh, I'll post there all the time. I'll post when a new episode goes up, but I'm not. I can't be fucking bothered doing the clips and the shorts and all of this stuff, right? Like, this is here. If you want to listen to it, listen to it. If you don't, I don't care. It's fine. But I tell you what, you can listen to, and I do care if you listen or not to this one. It's the Doctor Who Rewatch podcast that I do with my good pal, my good time boy, my sweet cheese, Nathan. We are going through all of Doctor Who from 2005 to wherever we are now. I think we're up to 2020. Some 12 seasons of Doctor Who. It's a rewatch podcast. We're having a good time. Episodes go up every single Monday in the morning. I say 10 a.m., but the morning. Let's just say the morning. And also, we have some more podcasts on the network as well. Saturday Morning Cartoon Club with Brian and David. Talking Pictures Pod with Brian and David. There is a now wrapped up podcast, but you can definitely listen to the whole back catalogue of the Fish and Trip Files. It's a Gavin and Stacey rewatch podcast. A lot of British shows rewatch podcasts going on. Anyway, go and enjoy all of that stuff, or not. Go and have a nice time in the sun, in the rain, whatever you want to do. Have an ice cream, have a curry. Oh, I don't know what. I need to go to bed. Good night, everyone. Goodbye, everyone.